Welcome back, AI curious folk, to AI Ramblings Daily Podcast. I'm Michael Parekh, your human AI guide. Today, episode 141. Today's theme, for better or for worse. Obviously, a phrase from marriage vows, but it's a phrase that applies both to personal and business matters, especially commitments to people and policies. And it applies particular to the tech and AI companies that we talk about here every day, especially given the pace of change that's happening and the amount of time that's around to see the impact of these commitments. So today I want to talk about two events at OpenAI, and then one more at Anthropic, and then my take as usual. First, let's start with item number one for OpenAI. They have another new revenue officer at the helm. And they also announced the details ahead of their mega AI IPO that they're planning for sometime between this year and next of a $40 billion run rate. That compares to Anthropic's $50 to $60 billion revenue run rate as of the middle of this year. And yesterday I talked about how Anthropic's early investors are talking about a revenue number north of 100, maybe $120 billion for Anthropic by the end of the year. Obviously, for Anthropic, all of that is in the enterprise space, AI coding with their Claude Code, Claude Cowork, and all the applications they're building around that. OpenAI, about 4 or 5 months ago, said, hey, we want some of that as well. So they recommitted to the enterprise side, AI coding side with their Codex app, and they're currently running at a $40 billion run rate, according to their most recent disclosure from their CFO, Sarah Friar. And they now have a new revenue officer. The previous one, who had been there a few months, she was the former CEO of Slack, is stepping down, and they're bringing on Dali Rajic, who's the CEO of Alphabet, Google's owned Wiz company in the cybersecurity space. And so this is the new person who's going to drive the revenue numbers higher and hopefully catch up to Anthropic. Remember, Anthropic basically changed the Coke versus Pepsi ranking a few months ago with their tremendous success, and OpenAI is playing a little bit of a catch-up game. There are other senior changes that are going on at OpenAI as well that I've touched on, but just in the last few days, their number 3 person, Brad Lightcap, just announced his exit to do other things. Fidji Simo, who was their CEO of applications, and the other number 2 had stepped down about a month ago for health reasons, unfortunately. Kevin Weil left in April. So there's been a lot of turnover at the company, obviously important ahead of a big mega AI IPO in the $1 trillion range. And so all of these changes matter. But this latest commitment to this new chief revenue officer matters because it's going to affect this raise right ahead of Anthropic's anticipated IPO, with laser focus by investors on how that ramp is going, etc. So this is a matter of critical importance for the company, short and long term. And remember, OpenAI is also very much focused on the enterprise space in terms of catch up to OpenAI, to Anthropic. About half their business, they say, is already enterprise. But remember, they have higher priorities as well. They want to focus on the consumer side with ChatGPT. They've got over 1 billion users there. And they're also focused on AI devices and all these side quests. So it is a company that has broader, wider, and deeper ambitions and aspirations than Anthropic, which remains laser focused on what they're focused on in terms of AI coding and enterprise. That takes us to number 2 item for ChatGPT, especially for OpenAI. They're announcing a new feature that has a little bit of an echo from Microsoft's feature of something called Recall. A couple of years ago, you may remember I wrote a lot about it. It was a feature embedded into Windows where Copilot, their AI, would basically track with screenshots everything you did on your computer. ChatGPT from OpenAI now on various subscription tiers is going to be offering computer history, for ChatGPT work and for their Codex app on the Mac operating system. The idea here is that the computer will basically track all your keystrokes, everything you're looking at, and take that memory, store it locally, and use it to provide you more relevant information. Remember, this is a track that, as I just mentioned, Microsoft tried with recall. They had a bit of a backlash against it. They had to take it back, rework it, bring it back. It's not entirely sure people are comfortable with it, especially in the business environment. Also, this issue of monitoring things on your computer is also an issue at companies like Meta, which implemented, for instance, keystroke tracking and what people do on their computer to train their next generation of models, the Muse Spark model. And that had a backlash as well. So it's not entirely clear that people are generally comfortable either in business or consumers side of things to have their daily computing tracked. And not many people have earned that trust for the most part. I have talked about Apple and potentially Google as potentially being at that threshold, but not quite. OpenAI doing this is a new tactic. Again, better for worse. We'll see if it implements for them. They don't have much choice because, unlike these other companies, they don't have the distribution platforms that reach billions of people already, other than ChatGPT's weekly users at 1 billion people. But remember, only 5% of them are paying customers. The most of them are free. So this computer history feature, it would not necessarily apply to them, because actually to store all that personal information, et cetera, requires a lot of compute spend and processing for the AI, et cetera. So only paying customers get the privilege of the computer history feature of this application. So all of this stuff is in the early days. All the companies are trying various ways to figure out how to track the lives of their users, again, for better, for worse. To come back to that theme, there are big pros and cons here, and anything could happen. But it's interesting that OpenAI is taking a stab at this along with the other companies, large and small. So we'll see how this goes. We will track it very closely, but it is an important new element and likely emulated potentially down the road by Anthropic and others. That brings us to Anthropic as item number 3 for today. There was a big profile in the information on founder CEO Dario Amadai's spouse, the first lady of Anthropic, as it were. Normally, this is a subject I would not normally discuss in a business Substack or podcast, but in this case, Dario has involved his spouse in a lot of Anthropic business events and decisions and so on. So her background is interesting. There's not much known about her. She has an entrepreneurial background. There are some salacious elements in the story as well. Prior relationships with other founder CEOs and billionaire investors like Eric Schmidt. There's even a Jeffrey Epstein connection. So there's a lot of personal details that obviously come into play in the context of Anthropic's mega AI IPO as well. Remember, Dario also has his sister as the number 2 of the company, the chief operating officer, president, and one of the co-founders. And remember that he brought in, I think there were a total about 8 co-founders, all from OpenAI, of Anthropic, and they all have equal shares. So this is a company that values just the close people around the CEO as being very influential in everything that the company does and is about. And so the role of the first lady of Anthropic, as it were, is an important element. And so this profile on Camille Clark is a notable one. And again, not much discussed on this prior, so I have it in the show notes if you want to take a full read. And again, it's in there as a dynamic of how this company is run, given how Dario does run Anthropic with a lot of personal influence from a lot of key people. And so there are key person risk, governance, all of these things come into play, especially ahead of a big $1 trillion IPO ahead of us. So that's why I kind of highlighted. My overall take on all of this is, again, that these 3 events are highlighting sometimes the non-financial qualitative matters that can make a world of difference to the business strategies and goal of companies, especially ahead of big IPOs that are, ahead of both of these companies, and especially in terms of the revenue run rates and what cadence and timeline these projections can run, which of course is very important to investors going forward. So for good or not so good outcomes down the road, we are going to be tracking all this. Let's now move to the Gadget AI section today. I'm bringing back a topic I did talk about on Gadget AI a few weeks ago, and this is on the issue of the White House back then putting some bans on drone imports from China. I'd mentioned back then that drones, typically majority of the drones in the world are from companies like DJI in China, etc., both for consumer and business use. And the US does not have much of a homegrown drone industry, manufacturing, etc. The few startups that we do have, like Skydio, are really all focused on military applications, with the venture investment industry focused on that aspect of drones, especially given all of the goings on in Ukraine and the importance of drones in terms of military budgets going forward. But these drones are for commercial use, etc. And the White House just announced explicit tariffs, 100% to 25%, based on various tiers of the type of drones and capabilities of the way and the specifications of the drones, etc. And this is coming from the White House, driven by the Commerce Department, the FCC. There are a lot of elements here. In general, my take on this is that the notion that we would basically have these kinds of policies and accelerate a drone industry is a little bit potentially over optimistic in the short term. These systems take a long time. Ecosystems I'm talking about take a long time to develop, typically in the years, and the capital budgets are going to be massive. And short term, the U.S. does not have a huge homegrown drone industry. So so this basically means higher costs for U.S. companies, especially for the companies that are trying to build applications on top of drones, whether they're AI driven or not. The notion that those participants are going to have fewer options of drones to choose from, and the cost of those drones is a negative one in the short term. And so my take on this is that one ought to take a look at the longer term best pro and con piece for the US in drones, and then affect these kinds of policies. Short term, this has potentially more headwinds that are in the math than not. And so for better or for worse, again, we have to pay the toll up front if they continue to go ahead with these kinds of tariffs and restrictions on drones and use of drones in the United States by U.S. companies. Which takes us to our Q&A session for today. Since I've talked about this topic before, I'm just going to address it again at a high level with a different tinge now that we know the specifics of the tariffs. And one question is, what am I optimistic? What's the optimistic scenario of these kinds of initiatives? And, again, I'll say, look, the notion that U.S. solutions will emerge because of these tariffs, etc., are possible. And I'm going to pay a lot of attention to that going forward. But I do worry that it's going to take more time and more capital than currently is in the policy formulation postulations of these developments. So we will see. I'll try and be optimistic about it, but it's difficult. Second question is, what are the near-term negative consequences? And here, again, as I've highlighted, the biggest concerns is that all this stuff to build our own drone industry is going to take far longer than we think, and the costs are going to be high. And in the meantime, not having access to the broadest variety of drones and capabilities of drones of all type is more negative than positive in terms of building whole layers up further up the stack of the technologies around these types of platforms. And so that is my biggest negative consequence concern. I just wanted to highlight also today's AI Reset to Zero piece 1178 is on the AI compute crunch. There's new data on the ground as to how severe this is. It's part 3 of a series I've been talking about, the demand and supply of AI compute, and this is a look at the tactical side. There are other elements on this that'll be coming up soon, but this one hopefully is interesting in the context of additional detail as part of this important topic. Tomorrow, of course, we'll be back with the Saturday weekly roundup, and Sunday we'll have the bigger picture. I want to wish you all a wonderful weekend. Thank you all for joining us today, AI Curious folk. Stay tuned.